Hello, Clarence Rockland. I'm with Joe Roberts at the Rockland Arena. He is the founder of Push for Change. Joe, what exactly is the Push for Change?
Well, the Push for Change is a national engagement project that has me pushing a symbol of homelessness from Eastern Canada to Vancouver in an attempt to raise the volume on what we need to do to help prevent, reduce, and end youth homelessness.
What exactly is that symbol of homelessness?
So the symbol of homelessness, of course, is a shopping cart. In 1989, I was homeless, living in the streets of Vancouver, and I came from a community just like Rockland, a very small, rural part of Ontario, and I had some family conflict and some big challenges in my life, and by the time I was 15, I found myself couch surfing and eventually homeless. By the time I was 16, I left school. And late into my teens, I found myself in the streets of Vancouver pushing a real shopping cart, living underneath a bridge as a destitute teen. Each year in Canada, over 35,000 young people experience homelessness, many through no fault of their own. And so we're going from one end of Canada to the other, engaging communities like Rockland and talking about what we need to do to properly support young people in their transition to adulthood so they don't end up homeless and living on the streets.
When exactly did the Push for Change start?
So we started on May 1st, and we started in the most easterly point of Canada in Cape Spear, Newfoundland. And we've been walking now for 5+ months, almost 6. Today is day 148, and I've walked 2,889 kilometers, which is approximately 3 million steps.
Wow.
We still have a long way to go, though. The trek is 9,000 kilometers through 10 provinces that last 17 months. So we have a little over a year to go before our expected arrival date into Vancouver on September 30th, 2017.
Wow, that's insane. So, as people may be able to see in the background, there are a lot of OPP vehicles. How
Yes.
exactly did the partnership with the OPP happen?
Well, twofold. When I came back to Ontario when I was trying to rebuild my life, I had an interaction with an OPP member who, in my opinion, opened the doorway of transformation in my life. I was suicidal, and I encountered Constable Scott McLeod, who intervened in my life, prevented tragedy, and that opened the door for me to go to drug treatment, later to college. I graduated, and 12 years later, I was a success in the business world. When we came around 25 years later, I wanted to do something to pay it forward, and the Ontario Provincial Police are very interested in community safety. They're very interested in protecting youth and the public safety of every young person in Ontario and across the country. So they're alongside of us to ensure our safety, public safety, but more importantly, they're partnered with us to carry this message on what we need to do to help every young person in the country. And they've committed to over 50 events in Ontario, this one being one. And last Thursday when we came into Ontario over the Hawkesbury Bridge, we were met by Commissioner Vince Hawkes and a contingency of the Hawkesbury OPP and OPP senior leadership from around the province, and Walter Gretzky and a whole bunch of folks from Hawkesbury. And we walked into the arena and we had ourselves a real welcome into Ontario.
What is your opinion on the state of awareness of the situation?
I think the issue of awareness around youth homelessness and homelessness in general, there is a lot of misinformation. 67% of young people who experience homelessness do so because of family conflict. In other words, they can't get along with mom or dad, or there's conflict going on at home. So what we're talking about is vulnerable young people versus morally bad. And when these young people find themselves at 15, 16 years old, out of home and out of school, there is inadequate supports. The other thing that I find very interesting is there's a notion in smaller communities throughout rural Ontario that we don't have a homelessness problem, or we don't have youth at risk in this community. And that actually couldn't be farther from the truth. In every single community throughout Ontario, we have invisible homelessness. And that's one of the things that we're doing a lot of education. When a young person at 15 leaves home and begins couch surfing, they're at the crossroads of a lot of dangerous things: predation, drugs, gangs, crime. And it's not something you see. You don't see that young person sitting in front of the liquor store begging for change in a town like Rockland. But that doesn't mean it's not here. There's also a lot of deer around here, but you don't see it every day. And so one of the things that we find very interesting is there is a huge opportunity for us to educate as to what the core issues are that lead to homelessness: mental health, anxiety, depression, family conflict. These are the kinds of things that if they go untreated when a young person's in high school, it can lead to tragedy and homelessness.
So how exactly did you manage to get all the way from pushing a shopping cart to being a CEO?
It was a day at a time. You know, I think that when I was young, I had a negative image of myself and I didn't try very hard because I didn't think I would succeed. When I found myself and the right supports and the right mentors around me, I began to take small little action steps. And those small action steps combined over weeks and months and years led me to going from pushing a shopping cart to being successful in the business world. But even when I got to that place where I was successful, and I had defined success as material wealth and status, I wasn't fulfilled. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this work, is it's actually a lot more fulfilling for me to do something to give back to a country that's been so generous and kind to me. I think that to answer that question simply, it's just about taking the necessary steps forward.
How do you feel about the support for your organization? People who are a part of it and the people who are from the outside?
The support we've received has been absolutely phenomenal, from the Ontario Provincial Police to the RCMP in the East, to getting an opportunity to walk with the Deputy Premier of New Brunswick and meet the Lieutenant Governor of New Brunswick. We've had incredible support, and the momentum is continuing to build. Coming into Rockland and seeing all those smiling young people and the great volunteerism and the great work that they did to collect items to support homeless and youth homeless was fantastic. Every community that we go to, the momentum continues to build, and we're only a third of the way across the country. As we head in towards Ottawa and eventually Kingston and Toronto, we're very excited about what's going to happen as we continue to walk across this country.
Do you have any memorable moments that have happened during the push for change?
Yeah, I got an opportunity, like I did today, to speak to some young people. When I was in Montreal, I got the chance to speak to a bunch of street-involved youth at an organization called Dans la Rue. And one young man, when I was done, said, "I want to walk with you," in sort of French, English. And I said, "Okay, let's walk." And then the interpreter explained to me, no, he wants to walk with you across the country. And I was moved by that because he was a street-involved young person who wanted to come and walk. And for many reasons that was impractical, but we did get to spend the afternoon walking around the city of Montreal. He walked me up the mountain, and we saw the big cross and the beautiful vista and the skyline of Montreal. And we got to share some intimate moments and to really get to know his story. And you know, he's one of those statistics, really good, a wonderful young man who just found himself now living on the street.
Have you had any major obstacles with the push for change?
Every day is a major obstacle. I'm walking 24 kilometers a day, and then having to find the energy to engage in community. And some of the obstacles in the beginning were getting fit. I'm 49 years old. I'm not 20, so taking on the challenge and going through the training and conditioning. Sometimes walking in the rain and walking in inclement weather is tough. Building the fundraising campaign, finding the sponsors to support us. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how tough or how insurmountable the task seems. What we do is we drive the campaign, every one of us that are involved, and it's not just me, I have a whole team. We are working on purpose. And when you're connected to a greater purpose, that which you serve, which for me it's young people in this country, we find whatever we need to overcome those obstacles and continue to move forward. For anybody who wants to learn more about the Push for Change, they can visit thepushforchange.com. They can follow us on our Twitter channel, our Instagram channel, our Snapchat channel. Make sure you tune in, check us out. You can find us on the map on our website, thepushforchange.com, and we'd love to join you in. One of the easiest ways that folks can support us, of course, is donations, but they can also support us by following and tracking and liking us on our social media channels. Thanks very much for having us, Rockland. It was a pleasure, and you will forever be day 148 for the Push for Change.
Stay updated with Joe's journey across Canada. I have been Billy Wiswell with TVC 22, and thank you all for watching.